really tough aspects. So I think the one thing that we really wanted to do today is just on solid waste issues, and just make sure when the legislation comes up, when your public works director, or in our case, the solid waste manager, we bring stuff up, give them some support, send out letters, just let your representatives know that this is really is burden on us. It's our ability to pay is what we really want to focus on. The last thing that I wanted to mention here is where we go in the solid waste. In Alaska County, we're fortunate we have 15, 17 years in our landfill as you go south on 395. Some of you, when you return back to your counties, you'll see our landfill off to the left, Bass Hill. Last year, this time, we did an in-house study where we looked at splitting the amount of solid waste that we dispose of landfill. Just taking our non-garbage component at the landfill, building a transfer station, and sending the rest over to Nevada. It really didn't pencil out for us too well. So we decided not to go that route. One of the concerns that we had through our council, we actually had a sample contract sent to us from Waste Management at Lockwood. And we weren't too pleased with the terms and conditions, and especially were concerned about Waste Management's ability to increase their fees willy-nilly once we make a move there for circular liability. Fuel changes, they have that built in, we understand that. The circular liability, just it could be anything. So we were pleased when we did it. Some of the things that we discovered, and I think the most important thing that we got out of it, is that our future may not lie in exporting our solid waste to Nevada. It may be in waste energy in our facility here. And I think that's the direction that we're starting to look at now. The economies of scale should be improving over the next few years. The price is coming down. The scalability of waste energy is improving. I think it has the potential of being a regional facility for the four counties, and it could be here. We do have a windy site, so it could work into wind energy. There's a lot going on now with solar panels on brownfields and landfills specifically. And then we would need to have someplace to bury residual waste, so having an operating landfill there could tie in. So I think that we could look at that, and also in Portola, Delaware, specifically, there's a proposal rather for a material recovery facility that for recycling aspects it could tie in. So that might be where the future lies, is waste energy in a regional facility for recycling. And just want to get that information out to the four counties, what we're thinking of doing in the future. We do have some options because we have an operating facility, a landfill, and it's made our decisions a little bit easier. But we think that in the future, it probably is the direction that we go, and then we're a little bit more in control of our waste. What we've always feared is everybody going to Lockwood, and then you have no landfills or any other facilities to go to. And the next thing you know, your rates are going to happen. So that was the message from the Solid Waste Authority, and if you have any questions or comments, please hear them. Seeing none at all.
Do you remember what your cost appraisal was to go to Lockwood?
I think we were looking at it was in the $22 to $23 ton range.
Thank you.
The biggest concern we had was that escalated.
The arbitrary increase.
Right. That was the biggest concern we had. Great, thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Is there any questions or comments for Tom on this issue? Appreciate the presentation. Okay, we'll move on to item 10. Richard Egan, our administrative officer, will take this matter up.
Thank you. We received a request from Supervisor Alan Ishida from Tulare County a couple weeks ago for a letter of support. I think it probably pertains to all the counties, and maybe you've already seen it. The letter deals with, the support letter that's requested, deals with the deliberations that are going on with the 2014 water bond. And basically what the letter does is it requests that during those deliberations, the parties consider several things, but predominantly water storage as an issue with regard to the water bond, both above ground, surface, and below ground storage. So anyway, that letter's in your packet. I'm recommending that our board approve that letter to go out and get it to the speaker. And if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to respond to them.
We never got some of this stuff with the letter in the packet. We never got that. We never got something else that you just talked about before. I just got.
There was an email, I think, with
The Thursday.
We got late yesterday. I mean, that was after I pointed out to her that we had sewer service. And she started tracking it down somehow. It was not on your end, it was me and
I think we sent it to your respective clerks. After that, I don't think.
So, Tulsa's water issues are different from our water issues, and I would really investigate every region. I was at CSAC and we had a water discussion. It was chaos because everybody has different agendas. We're up here, we have the water, we're trying to hang on to it and get something out of it. And,
I was at that same meeting and I was thinking
Yeah.
we were on this side of the hill because any water we have goes to Nevada, they couldn't
yeah,
dig in.
but I mean, everybody has different issues. And the farmers down in the valley, way down there in LA County, and so I wouldn't sign anything until,
They're planning on having.
I'll write my own
Yeah,
letter.
they're probably planning on having a discussion in a meeting and trying to get people to sign at May legislative conference, so this is kind of a prelude to that. And I'm going to go to the meeting because I want to watch you work again. Yeah, that was quite enlightening, and
I
tell you,
know, so I don't-
the interests down in the central part of the state are totally different than the interests.
Right, yeah.
So I was in RCRC when we discussed this letter, and RCRC does have more of our interests at heart than the whole state
Okay.
organization does. And to me, the letter, I was like you, I was thinking, I don't want to sign the whole state, but I think the main emphasis of this letter is that we need storage, and all the water bonds that are coming before us are not giving enough money to storage. And storage is going to solve more issues for all of us up here and the people down south, so.
That is the essence of the letter, is that the consideration should be given to storage, which seems obvious, but it's not.
Most of the water bonds are a very tiny portion for.
He talks about the water wars, and he says they're tired of the water wars, and what we need to do is unite as supervisors and talk about, they need to deal with storage, or we don't want to talk to them at all.
But when they built like Orville Dam, they just shafted Butte County totally. They didn't get anything that they were promised.
I don't think we're gonna solve the water problems in the state unless we build some storage.
I know, but I mean,
And they're looking at the underground water storage that God created as being a storage facility that they want to start harvesting. So we need to be mindful of that as well.
Someplace along the line, we've got to take responsibility for our area, because I know there was a project that started in Modoc County over 6 or 7, or actually probably 8 years ago, that got pushed away, and right now, if that project would have come through, we would have had a storage upstream, storage of water to go down. Because someplace along the line, they have to realize that the snow on the Warner Mountains, or on the mountains outside of here, and Thomas Peak, or Thompson Peak, yeah, that's the start of our water. It goes down, it goes into a tributary someplace, and it needs to be stored someplace before it goes even further, so we can control that. And each county is going to have their own say in this, because we're about to get the groundwater and surface water issues shoved down our throat instead of actually allowed to participate in them. So all of that has got to be adjusted in the county level someplace along the line. So
The only thing I think I would add to the letter is some language to protect county
it's also.
And bear in mind this one thing too. These two words, water storage, are not brand new just because of the word drought. They've been around for a long time. And, you know, it's kind of funny, it seems like, to even get talked about it, but then again, underfunded bonds, there has to be some real crisis where a lot of people actually suffer unnecessarily. We cannot do enough to keep on enforcing, and you're right, Bob. Counties of origin, I totally support that. And just like what Jim said, either store, or we don't want to talk to you.
This is all about taking the water and putting it in the Sacramento River and sending it down to the Delta and sending it down to the Valley and sending it down to Los Angeles or something. Don't be smoke screened by this, folks. This is all about getting the water out of here someplace else. And if that's what they want to do, we need to make sure that we treat that like a little piece of gold, and it's gonna work for us too. So that's storage. It talks about storage.
Create our own storage, and when they come looking for the water, we can say, what water?
It's just like power. When the power grid went down a few years ago, I was on a plane in Texas, and the guy sitting next to me was on the phone before we took off, and he said, tell California they're gonna pay for this power. And I'm sitting there going, wow. Wow.
And we did.
And we paid for it, yeah. It cost the governor at that time his job, and we put another governor in place. And it's simply because of greed and the fact that they had the product that we needed. So we might as well have the product that they need and have it in our area here and make sure that we have plenty of water for our crops and our stuff. I'll get off this.
We went over to RCR's and the Bay Delta plan. It doesn't address it up here, but it's going to affect us.
I think what we'll do is, we'll take up this is on here as an action item, we'll take it up county by county. So I think we'll start off with Lassen County's board. So we have a letter before us. The action requested is we could either approve the letter as is, or we could make changes. So what's the pleasure of the board?
Well, first of all, I mean, obviously, at some point we need to put it in, but I think the form that we have here needs to be worked. And I think some of the suggestions I listened to the others need to be incorporated in it. Since they're going to be actually taking this letter up, these guys are taking their letter up in the middle part of May at the legislative conference. I would propose that we put this on our agenda for our first meeting in May, which I think is the 13th, or around that time, the 12th, and that we do some further revising for the letter to incorporate some of the suggestions that I've already heard around the table. So I'm not really prepared to act on it today. I would not support it in the form of this today.
I think Clueless agrees, we're not. We have to take it back to our board and revise it.
I think we need to individualize it, but I mean, I think the concept that we adopt some letter to send in, we need to do, but I think the form that's been suggested by Tulare here, along with the other county that was supporting him, and has been embodied in the draft here. I think we need to do a little bit more revising on it, but ultimately, I think we should adopt a letter. I want to adopt this one.
The only response that I would have to that, I think that's fine. The supervisor from Tulare is trying to gather, I don't think he wants to call it a petition, but basically a bunch of supervisors that all agree on the same message. And so I don't think our messages are going to differ significantly to the extent that he's asking you to sign on to my analysis. I don't think it's a bad idea.
He is a farmer, too, that supervisor.
I'd like to check in and find out why Tulare supervisor's concerned about our water storage here in the mountains.
I think that might have been the answer. He's a farmer.
He's a farmer.
Just worried about storage per statewide.
All over the state, they need storage projects everywhere.
So is it the pleasure of our board to,
I don't think we're going to, Bob, have any comments?
Is there a rush on it?
No, May 14th, I believe, is the legislative.
Put it on next agenda.
So that'll be the 13th, right?
Right.
Are they gonna be?
Richard, there,
I'm planning on attending.
Oh, okay.
Is there a way we could have a contact source from Lassen County that we could maybe put our concerns and send them to you and have them incorporated in this letter? Or have
They
them,
all sign the same
We all
letter.
sign the same
Yeah,
letter.
that's
yeah,
an
have we
idea.
all sign the same letter?
Well, we can attempt to coordinate that, but being that there's only one meeting between now and then for us, we're gonna have to, if we make changes, or your boards make changes at that meeting, they're gonna be.
Well, they can customize, it'll be close and similar, but if you guys could send in information in the coming week to Mr. Egan, and then we can get that form, and he can send out the draft that we're gonna work on, and if you need to tweak it, you can do that, but at least 90-some% of it will probably be all the same, and we can kind of have a commonality in that. I think that would be excellent.
Now, between now and then, because we are a board and we are meeting legally because we've posted all of this stuff, we can take this information now and go home and come up with our suggestions, and then just send the suggestions to it and have it crafted into one letter.
I'd say
From
send it
each
to,
county, if I
Send the
understand
letter
that
back
correctly.
to us, and we can
Right.
prove it in our ordinance.
Yeah.
Sure, maybe I just ask if you
Send it to-
coordinate that through your CAO or clerk or somebody, so I know who to, who
But I would
to
say
correspond with.
contact should be Mr. Egan's office.
Is there any public comment on this matter?
I think it's good that you're all meeting together and that you're coordinating on all this, because there's power in numbers.
So let me make sure I got this straight. Now, we're gonna go back and we're gonna everyone in my board is gonna give us information about what they'd like to see in this, and we're gonna shoot this information to
Mr. Egan.
Mr. Egan, and you can incorporate it someplace in there, one way or another. And some of it, we understand, may or may not make it, but there are some that will be, and you get it back to us for a final signature on by the 12th of May. Is that correct?
Right, and what I will do is I'll compile that into a draft for our board that'll be going to the Lassen County Board on the 13th, and I'll send that to you, and you can do what you will with it.
In order for him to be on our agenda for the 13th, he's going to have that about read out by about 8th or 9th of May at the latest, so you'd have like a week in advance like we would.
Yes,
We
sir.
need it by May 9th.
So I'll need those, actually, before that, I'll need those comments probably by the end of this week.
Or the
Yeah,
middle part of
we
next week.
can send the stuff to me today or tomorrow. So you need it by when?
At the end of this week.
This end of this week, or first part of next week. First part of next week.
So that would be May, Monday, what would be
May
May?
first,
May 5th.
Fifth,
fifth, yeah.
yeah, fifth,
Is that good for you?
that'll work.
And then we'll just get Lori's version of her letter. We'd like to get a copy of that. She writes pretty good.
I'd like to thank you guys very much for hosting this.
Thank you, yeah, we also appreciate, the effort of everybody to attend, and I think, I look forward to working on the quarterly meetings with the chairs.
Well, it's in the past, it's been about 4 or 5 years since we had it. I think the last one was held in Loomis County, and that was at a time when Mr. Settlemeyer was still our council, and you remember, so it goes back a little ways. We haven't had it in recent years, and I'm not sure why changes in boards and everybody else's interest, but we used to always try to do once or twice a year. We started back in the 90s to have each Tuesday. There's 2 or 3 of them in a year, because none of us have meetings on fifth Tuesday. Our regular meeting schedule is like first, second, third, or second, third, fourth, second and fourth, whatever. So in the future, it would be helpful maybe to at least a couple times a year when there's a fifth Tuesday, we kind of rotated it amongst the 4 counties. So I would think the next go around probably Modoc County would be, and then we'd be back to Sierra, Loomis, and that. So I'd like to see us do this more often.
Richard, I'd like to make a suggestion. If we could summarize this meeting and get it to all boards. And where the most critical places that we need to take action on immediately, and what letters we want to be in agreement on, and get it out to these guys ASAP.
Minutes.
Yeah, we'll have minutes and we'll forward them to all the clerks.
Yeah, but I mean, just a short summary to address the most,
Executive summary of minutes.
to address the most critical things.
Another one issue I want to bring up, we touched very lightly on is, I understand current legislation on Assembly bill and a Senate bill, both on groundwater. And I think we better stay very on top of this and make it a number one priority. Stay above it, know what's going on, and what the state legislature is doing. Because I haven't seen, and maybe the people out here can tell us what's going on with the Assembly bill for groundwater and the Senate bill for groundwater. Is there one, what's the numbers, and what's the intent of the state?
I don't have stats, I have copies of their eyes on groundwater,
I have been in here.
that's a somewhat, well, years ago, I heard a guy from PWR say, groundwater belongs to the people of the state of California. And what that exactly means, remains to be seen. And so that was I don't know where they're going. I'll try to get the latest to you on what's anticipated as far as what's intended.
Is that the same guy that said what's ours is ours and it's
Same concept.
My understanding is there's a Senator Fran Pavley from Ventura County who's she's the chairwoman of the Senate Environment Committee. She's pretty influential. Her bill is SB 1168. I would suggest that's one to watch. They are pretty serious this year for the same reason that people are finally saying, hey, maybe we could build a reservoir. They're getting very serious about looking at groundwater overdraft, particularly because of some of these areas. It's not a problem for anybody, a serious problem probably for anybody in this room, but certainly some of the areas of the San Joaquin Valley, you have canals cracking because the ground is subsiding because they are pumping so hard.
The state canal is actually 50 feet above where the ground is dropped that much.
Is there a Assembly bill for
There are a few. I don't know that there's one Assembly bill that is the kind of lead one to watch. That's a good question.
All righty, well, if there's nothing else, again, thank you. I think it was very productive, and I look forward to continued dialogue and working together. Thank you very much to everybody. So